Hello, my name is Gary, and I was raised in the Western United States, so I'm a native English speaker. I hope that you will enjoy this YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us.
Chinese Imperial Celadon charger. This is a Celadon bowl, or rather a charger, that my uncle gave me. He brought it back from Japan after the war. I believe it was made before the war, so it's likely at least 80, maybe even 100 years old. He had plans to build a house and fill it with beautiful things like this, but he eventually lost his sight, so everything sat in my grandmother's attic for years. Eventually, he rediscovered it and gave it to me as a Christmas gift, for my husband actually. Celadon is one of my favorites, and it's been beloved in Japan for centuries. There are a few details I look at to help identify exactly what it is and where it came from, starting with the label on the box. There's also a label on the back of the piece. By the way, I wouldn't call this a bowl. This is a charger. On the back, there's a 6-character mark. The inscription is Chinese. Now you might wonder how a Chinese Celadon charger like this ended up in Japan. For centuries, the Japanese were passionate collectors of Chinese Celadon. They had a deep tradition of collecting the finest pieces, and they labelled everything with care. This box's label is especially exciting. It reads, "Large Celadon porcelain dish, Yongzheng period." This box was clearly made for this charger. The dragon design is extraordinary. The glaze is flawless, and it's in remarkably good condition. That might make it hard to believe it's so old. But the Yongzheng period was from 1722 to 1735, a short but highly celebrated time in Chinese porcelain history. Some of the greatest ceramics were produced during that era. Have you ever thought about its value, or what it might fetch at an auction today? I've always assumed it had some value, maybe $1,000. A piece like this would attract serious interest. At auction in 2021, I'd estimate it conservatively at $80,000 to $120,000. Oh my, are you serious? And it's just been sitting under my bed. Honestly, under the bed isn't the worst place. It's clearly been well cared for and kept safe. You've done a great job preserving it. Is truly a masterpiece. What does the word Celadon mean in this context? A type of metal used in Japanese swords, a green glazed ceramic pottery, a type of wood used in furniture, a traditional Japanese painting. B. A green glazed ceramic pottery. What is a charger in relation to pottery? A device for powering electronics, a small decorative bowl, a large decorative dish or plate, a container for storing coins. C. A large decorative dish or plate. What does glaze refer to when describing a ceramic item? The handle of a bowl, a rough surface used for grip, a glossy coating on pottery, the base material of clay. C. A glossy coating on pottery. In the phrase a conservative estimate, what does conservative mean? Wild and exaggerated, cautious or lower end, unimportant or careless, high and risky. B. Cautious or lower end. A conservative estimate for this vase would be $10,000. The expert thinks it might be worth more, but says $10,000 to be safe. What does masterpiece most likely mean in this sentence? It's truly a masterpiece. A broken or damaged object, a very common item, a work of poor quality, an exceptional and highly skilled creation. D. An exceptional and highly skilled creation. What does the word Celadon refer to? A type of rare flower found in Asia, a greenish ceramic glaze often used on pottery, a traditional Japanese fabric pattern, a kind of precious metal used in ancient coins. B. A greenish ceramic glaze often used on pottery.
The Stone Jug and Dave the Potter. Back in 1995, there was a family estate auction, and I ended up being the only person to bid on a stone jug listed by the appraiser for $100. The starting bid was $60, so that's what I paid for it. Right after the auction, a man came up to me and asked if I'd be willing to sell it. I agreed and sold it to him for $100. But my mother insisted I try to get it back. She had a feeling it was more important than we realized. So I ran after him to his car, and thankfully he gave it back to me. Turns out that jug is actually a rare piece of Edgefield stoneware made in South Carolina. It's ash glazed, which is typical for pottery from that region. There was a string with a cork inside, but that didn't have anything to do with the pot itself. What really matters is the writing on the side. It reads, LM says this handle will crack. LM stands for Lewis Miles, a well-known pottery owner of the time. But the incredible part is that this jug was made by a man named Dave, a slave potter, now famous among collectors, often referred to as Dave the Slave. Dave worked for several potteries in Edgefield, including for Lewis Miles. Dave could read and write despite laws forbidding the education of slaves. He signed and dated many of his works, like this one, which says June 28, 1854. Even though there's a small chip on the spout, it doesn't hurt the value. One of Dave's similarly sized pots sold at auction in 1993 for $4,500. If I were to sell this jug today, it could be worth about $6,000. What is meant by a chip on the spout? A crack that covers the whole jug, a small piece missing from the jug's pouring edge, a decoration on the jug, a food stain on the jug. B. A small piece missing from the jug's pouring edge. What does starting bid mean in an auction? The final price of the item, the lowest price the seller wants, the amount paid for the auction tickets, the price after bargaining. B. The lowest price the seller wants. What does potter mean in the passage? A. A person who grows plants. B. A person who works with clay to make items. C. A person who sells antiques. D. A person who paints pictures. B, a person who works with clay to make items.